Jared, it's great to see you here in Munich. You've had some big news today on Venezuela.
Yeah, well, it's hard to believe it's only been about a month since the president made the moves to capture Maduro. In that time, at record pace, we've been able to move the oil, the crude out of Venezuela, get it into the global market. A lot of it, 30 to 50 million barrels heading into the U.S. for refining. But the big step that happened just today was opening up general licenses that would allow the incumbent companies that are down there, big companies like Chevron, ENI, Repsol. They've been operating under these bad conditions under Maduro in oil and gas. They stuck it out. Now they're going to continue to operate, which is huge to the Venezuelan economy, so that money can flow and the resources of getting gas into the system there and oil can flow. The other big license that came out today, which a lot of people have been waiting for, ever since we had that meeting in the East Room with President Trump, he brought in the biggest oil and gas companies in the world. They were very interested in investing and negotiating into Venezuela. So another license came out today, which would open up to negotiate new production in Venezuela. A lot of interest in that in the past several months. Huge step forward and all done at record pace. This is not the normal speed these licenses come out, but we know the importance of this, and President Trump has been on it because it's so important both to the Venezuela people but to the American people to get that oil and gas into our economy so that we can keep prices down in the U.S., but then also have money flowing into Venezuela.
How quickly do you think international companies are going to be moving in?
I think extremely fast. I mean, some of the big companies, they want to see some de-risking down there. So you've got other ones that are more used to going into bad environments and working through it. And when I say bad environment, what I'm saying is for 20, 30 years, this was headed in the wrong direction. It was a bad system. Maduro was exploiting it and he was neglecting it. And so now, you need the infrastructure in there and you need the laws and the infrastructure there needed to increase investment like we have in the U.S. and the Permian and the Gulf of America. The resources are so huge there, everyone is interested, but now we're heading in the right direction. A lot of great coordination with Delcy. You had Secretary Wright just down in Venezuela, so everything's moving in the right direction, but we've got to turn the ship from where it was headed for 20 to 25 years, and we've been doing that for the last month at record pace.
One company that doesn't want to go back is Total Energies, Patrick Pouyanné ruling it out. Is there something that the administration could do to make it more palatable to get Total back in there?
Well, I think, Total's great because they're investing in the United States. We want to see that too. And so we've got great partnerships with Total there. It depends on where people see where they're going to help their company. And so a big company like Chevron has stuck it out and they've been there and they see the value in it. But I do think just having that flow in the Western Hemisphere, I think changes it for all oil and gas companies. I think Total sees that too. I mean, if you're flowing that Venezuela crude up into the Gulf of America, up into refineries, that whole system will expand and benefit from it. So then you get more investments in the U.S. or in the Gulf on more refining, and that helps the whole system so that there's not log jams anywhere. So I do think opening up this choke point that was there, that was exploited in the Western Hemisphere, is going to help all companies, even if they're not investing specifically in Venezuela.
And do you think we're going to see Darren Woods and Exxon in the game?
I think so. I mean, I was there in the room, and what he was saying was exactly the point I was making. Is under Maduro, it was a bad situation, but the moves that President Trump is making, he's the one person that could fix it, President Trump, and you're seeing that happen. And so I do think Exxon and other majors are going to see the pace that this has improved so far, and they're going to know. I mean, these are huge resources on the oil and the gas side, and then I haven't even mentioned the critical mineral side. Gold, there is huge resources there too. That is kind of another phase that we're now focused on. That is the next step of unlocking all those critical minerals as well.
Tell me about oil prices, because obviously coming from the Gulf Arab countries, lower oil prices, bad for Gulf economies. When are we going to see those oil prices improving?
Well, the president wants the oil prices down.
I know.
They are improving. They are improving in President Trump's mind. I mean, at the end of the day, he is looking at what Americans are paying for energy prices. And when I say energy prices, what they're paying to fill up their gas tanks at the pump, what they're paying to heat their homes, their electricity bills at home. And so all of those things he's focused on, those are the barometer that the president looks at it. And so every day he's looking at the price of a barrel of oil. He wants it down. Now, that's going to take innovation on the oil and gas side, but all the things I'm talking about of Venezuela crude coming into the system, that also helps keep gas prices down, because now you've got more flowing in. Venezuela crude is used slightly differently because it's so heavy, but it's going to help that whole economy because it opens up more refineries. And so all of that is going to help drive down the price.
What's the message to shale producers who are disgruntled?
Well, we're trying to streamline as much as possible for them. I mean, they've seen record production under President Trump. Again, all of that, if we're lowering prices across the board for them, that lowers their break-even point. And so the more that we can keep it a low break-even point, so they don't have the bureaucracy, that they can do things like commingle and other things that allow them to have less infrastructure, less out-of-touch environmental rules, so that they can actually streamline their production, use innovation. We're working with them on all of those things. At the end of the day, though, the president wants people paying low dollars for their energy prices.
What do you say to critics who would frankly say that, by destabilizing the Middle East, and we're talking about the Gulf countries, with those lower oil prices hurting their economies, it means that they can't project the foreign influence that perhaps the president wants them to project, whether it comes to, helping in Egypt, helping in Syria, helping in Lebanon?
Well, I do think,
if they got less to to throw around, it's harder.
But look at the way the president has looked at energy as a global policy. So now he's telling people, don't buy from Russia. He's telling people to look to other sources. So India, for example, not buying from Russia. Europe, not buying from Russia. They're going to have to buy from other sources. The U.S., great capacity to sell to them, but they're going to look to other partners too. And so, again, using our allies in the Gulf to help fill that void is going to be good for everybody. And then, of course, we're talking to Gulf companies all the time about ways to partner with us and invest on the critical minerals standpoint, but also on the infrastructure that's needed both in the U.S. and Alaska and the Gulf. And so, again, there's so much out there now, particularly with Venezuela opening up. There's huge opportunities. We can all work together. We're talking about it all the time. And so I think this is going to be a win-win for everybody.
So this is not a war on OPEC?
No, what we're doing is we're trying to keep gas prices down. And again, that is the main point the president always looks at. His number one priority is Americans and how much they're paying for gas.
Tell me this, in your mind, how does this set the United States up for the next few decades? And I'm talking about energy dominance, but also oil specifically. Does this put OPEC out of business?
Well, I think what we're trying to do, the president's been very clear from when he started, drill, baby, drill. It makes America stronger on the world stage if we can produce as much as we can produce and then not reliant on anybody. The reason the president can make the moves he has made, taking out Iran's nuclear operations, is because they cannot affect us by shutting off any choke point in the Gulf. And so, again, this is all about energy security is national security, and that's the way he views this. That's what drill, baby, drill is all about. It's about all the costs that I just talked about, but it's also about a country being able to chart its own course and not reliant on any other country. Again, when I'm talking in the G20, I'm a Sherpa for the G20, and it's going to be on energy, and supply chain is a huge part of that. And so if we're building this coalition so that no one area can shut off the supply chain for critical minerals, for example, or for oil, which is in everything we do, then that's better for the whole system. And so that's going to be a big part of what we talk about with the G20 nations.
Tell me this, vulnerability to price shocks, is that something that's within your calculus? Because certainly that's something that folks in our region worry about.
Yeah, but I think we've seen it. We've been through, again, this past year where, given all the activity on the global scale, that people have thought there would be huge spikes in price. We have not seen that happen. And again, that's a testament to all of our allies working together so that they have the energy independence they need. They have the system, so they're not reliant on one choke point that could send these prices up too high.
So when you think about that choke point in the Gulf, less relevant?
Well, it's relevant for China, but it's less relevant for the U.S. or our allies. That's one of the reasons that no moves were made on the Strait of Hormuz, because it's China that's relying on that oil. And again, this is where drill, baby, drill comes in. This is where we've had such success, is if the U.S. is in control of its own resources, then we don't have to be reliant on any one choke point that we don't necessarily have control over. And that's been a huge win. And so we did not see the prices spike during the moves we made in Iran.
It's rather nice for China. Tell me this, when you come to the LNG exports, a lot of questions about, are we harking back to the days of President Biden? What I mean by that is, analysis paralysis. Another analysis that you guys have ordered in terms of those export licenses. Is that what's behind that pause?
Well, the Biden pause we got rid of. So Biden shut down the exports of LNG. And so what we're trying to do is really show the momentum of driving LNG into the markets, particularly into Europe. And so the two things that are happening here is all of the European markets have to get off Russian gas by 2027. They also, European nations, the EU nations, have to buy $750 billion worth of U.S. energy. And so you put those things together. That's why we're having regular meetings with our counterparts over in Europe about building the infrastructure to flow more LNG into Europe from Italy, from Greece as entry points, Poland, getting it up through Central and Eastern Europe into Ukraine. Again, it's going to drive down prices. It's going to help all those countries because all the flow was coming from Russia out. Now it's coming the opposite direction. What we do need to do is we're going to bring people to the table like XM Bank and DFC because some of that is going to need funding to get it done. We have the capacity from the LNG side, but some of that infrastructure was just flowing the wrong way. So now we need to invest in that infrastructure. But we view, and President Trump can be the quarterback to bring all these countries together and help make real tangible deals. And you're seeing that long-term 10, 20-year commitments to get U.S. LNG into there. But again, it needs to be a regular drumbeat so that people don't think we're going to go backwards here. No, the way to the future is U.S. LNG supplying Europe, not Russia LNG supplying Europe.
So 60% of LNG coming to Europe is from the United States. Are you worried that they're going to work on diversity of supply?
No, I'm not worried. I mean, I think
because they all talk to me about the cost and it's so much more expensive.
Well, I think that adding more supply brings the price down. I mean, the more we're building more LNG facilities in the U.S., and so the more we're supplying Europe and the infrastructure is there, and the more the long term the deals, the more the price goes down. I do think what we want to reiterate to our European partners, this is what I've been doing over the past year, is they keep asking, do you have the capacity? Do you have the way to the facilities to export it? We do. What you're seeing a lot of the European nations doing is investing in new kind of infrastructure, these floating FSRUs, so floating devices to regasify and get it into the system. That's going to help. You know, it's easier to put those up and put them at the ports that are needed the most. And so again, these are the conversations we're having every day. And there's a lot of U.S. companies that want to partner with European countries, and we kind of serve as the way to merge those together at the White House to say, we've got the capacity, we're going to invest, we're not going to stand in the way of these LNG facilities, we're going to get the permitting done to do it. And so therefore, we want that 60% to go even higher.
So what do you say to those in the U.S. who say that the Trump administration is slow rolling these export permits?
No, we're moving as fast as we can. I mean, you look at what we did with Venezuela, and now we're looking to do that in many different areas. I mean, one of the big moves the president made last year was the sanctions on Lukoil and Rosneft. And so again, this is another huge, strong move the president made, which completely changes the energy game in the U.S. I mean, these facilities are all throughout Europe. There's even some in the U.S. And so the more we can get those into the hands of reliable, great companies that are going to, again, invest. Some of these are neglected. Some of these were not kept up. And so, again, it's changing the whole energy infrastructure, which is vastly needed, not just in the U.S., but in Europe as well.
How do you estimate the damage done to Vladimir Putin's war machine?
Well, it's massive, and I mean, I think you're seeing that. And again, this is why coming to events like this and having the conferences we're having and everything you're hearing out of Secretary Rubio and President Trump is that he is using energy as a tool to bring the end of wars, and it is having an effect here. We're going to continue to do it, but it's important that we have to continue the drumbeat. But it's also about the deals. It's about getting deals done. It's a relentless pursuit of the deal. It's great to have meetings and talk, but what really sends the right message is these long-term deals, these long-term 20-year commitments where we're not going back. We're going to buy from the U.S. and we're going to ship it into Europe. And so that sends the strongest message of all, and that's what the president is the expert at, is closing those deals.
Jared, it's great to see you here in Munich. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me.